Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to another video here. I'm doing a live stream, so just want you to know that today's topic is going to be on marriage and love and what it's supposed to be according to God. I feel very personally about this for a couple of reasons. I was married. I am 26 years old. I was married, and it did not go well at all. For the first couple of years, it was hard. Most people see a honeymoon period. Well, if I'm being completely honest, there wasn't much of a honeymoon period for me. But nonetheless, I did love her, and there was a time where we were happy, despite everything that had transpired. I'm doing this live stream because I feel like I have a lot to offer on the subject, because one of the many things that I took seriously in my marriage was the fact that I said vows, and I took those vows seriously. I don't know if that really mattered to her or not. At this point, that's not really important. But what I can say is that now that I am newborn in Christ, and now that I have an idea of what it means to be married and have a relationship with somebody, as a Christian, I want to stress the importance of that with people, and just how significant that is. So, a couple of the verses that I'm going to use that speak about marriage and love are going to they're going to help you understand just how important the concept of marriage in Christ is according to the Bible. So the first verse I'm going to use is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. It says, "Give honor to marriage and remain faithful to one another in marriage. God will surely judge people who are immoral and those who commit adultery." That's pretty important, because essentially what that means is, and I'm just going to put it plain and simple, don't cheat. It's that's pretty self-explanatory. I can honestly say that out of all the relationships that I have had, not many, okay, I have never cheated, not once, and honestly, I don't think I ever will. So, if I am blessed with another opportunity to fall in love again, I think it's important to understand that marriage is not just a paper contract. It's a sacred thing, marriage, and it's very spiritual, in the sense that, when you take a partner and when you choose that partner, and you give yourself over to them as if you gave yourself to God, it's a very enlightening experience. You learn things as you go along, and you pick up on things. One of the things that I prided myself on in my marriage was the fact that when it came to my partner, I knew practically everything about them. Okay, down to what they were going to say before they said it. I could finish her sentences. I knew what she wanted and when she wanted it. But with that, there were also some problems. I began to telegraph that, and I began to use that against her. And I eventually knew how certain situations were going to go. And it got to the point that the more I learned, and the more I learned about this said person, the more I realized that I was miserable. I knew how things were going to end, and I knew that there was nothing. At least at that time, I didn't know of anything I could do to change that. I didn't know of anything I could do to even remotely remedy that situation. And so I quickly realized that I got stuck. I was stuck. All right. I was stuck in a marriage that wasn't going anywhere. All right. That's a lot of that. A lot of that, if not the majority of it, is kind of my fault. You know, I've told people the stories of how me and my wife split up, and what I can honestly say is that despite everything, and the support that I've gotten from said situation, um, she's not the only one to blame. I've made a significant amount of mistakes in my relationship, and even in the years before we got married, one of those mistakes was moving in with her before we even got married. You know, Life became super complicated after we moved in together. Just to give you a little bit of a background, we met in a homeless shelter for youth. Okay, so I think our situations, our personal situations aside from each other, were pretty serious. I was when I met her, I was living in a tent with my mom, my little sister, and my mom's boyfriend, who was the father of my little sister. And we ended up going to this homeless shelter, and I met her, and I guess you could say that our relationship kind of blossomed from there. We ended up after about a month, my mom passed away. My mom passed away January 27th, 2017. She left a week. She left a week before. She left for college a week before my mom died, and then after my mom died, I was just like, "Yeah, I got to get out of here," and I decided to go to college. Well, I followed her. I went to college, and then we ended up in the same college together. We went to Bloomsburg University, and then after that, we dropped out. We dropped out, and we went back to the homeless shelter that we had left from, and we lived there, and we were there for a little while. And I got myself a job over at H&R Block, and we got our first apartment through an organization that helps youth get their apartments. So we got our first apartment, and then we graduated from that program. And I was bouncing from job to job, and so on and so forth. And then I decided to get this inspiration, and I tried to join the army. Well, the army wouldn't take me, and so on and so forth. And then things kind of just went downhill from there. I got married December 16th, 2019, and we have been separated for 3 years. So do the math, guys. We weren't even married for a whole year before we decided, yeah, we can't do this anymore. So, um, like I said, a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I don't want people to make those same mistakes. And so that's where I'm. That's a little bit about my background. So at the very least, you can rest assured that anything that I mention here, I fully support, because, well, if I support it, it's probably because I never did it. So the second verse that I'm going to use is I want to use this verse to explain what love is. I've talked a little bit about marriage, and I've given you a step towards doing marriage the right way, and a little bit about what marriage is. But what is love? Okay, well, it's important to understand that we have to set a standard when it comes to love, because love itself without God is hard to define. I mean, can you come up with a definition for love? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could, but is it going to make any sense? Probably not, to be honest. Um, So it simply what when I define love, it's going to simplify it in a way that's going to make it extremely simple, but it's also going to intimidate you. And it is not my goal to intimidate you, but trust me when I tell you that this definition is going to simplify things in a way that, okay, now we have a standard. Now we have a standard for what love is. Okay. Love is God. God is love. And the never ending love that God shows us on a daily basis, whether you're saved or you're not saved. Understand that you do not have to be saved in order to experience God's love. God's love remains intact for the simple fact that he created you. He didn't create something that he hated. No, he created something that he loved. He created us in his image. And so to understand that is to know what love is. So, understand that when it comes to being in love, I it's a powerful thing. It's not It's a very powerful thing. In fact, it's one of the three most powerful things in the universe, if not arguably the most powerful thing in this entire universe. So, the love is a very powerful thing. Also understand that love is not a feeling. Okay. Love is not a feeling per se. It's a it's an act. Okay. It's a choice. Okay. It's a very it's not it'll when we're long gone, love will still be here. Okay. Because love is just one of those things that will always endure. So just understand that love is God. God is love. And when you establish God, when you establish love at that standard and you understand what he did for us, you can kind of get an idea of what real love is. All right. So, just understand that when you guys fall in love, or when you're thinking about getting married, if you can honestly say that you can imagine yourself loving this person the way God loves you, then you probably have the okay to go ahead and do it, at that point, at least in God's eyes. you know but also understand that love is also other things. Okay. God is love. God is the standard when it comes to love, but love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud. That verse actually comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. Um, so, the love is not an easy thing. Okay. It's a powerful thing, but it takes work. All right. Love, and same goes with marriage. Marriage requires sacrifice. It requires compromise. It requires understanding the person that you're with it's not even half the battle. Yes. Is it important to love them? Yes. Is it important to trust them? Yes. Is it important to is it important to understand that things are not always going to be easy when you're in love? Yes, that's extremely important, because understand, love takes work. Love is worth every bit of energy that you can put into it. Okay. Also understand that there are three things in this universe that will last forever. Okay. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. All right. Three things. that are going to last forever. Faith, hope, and love. That verse is actually 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. Um, to me, that's important because a lot of people they they have this honeymoon period, and even before you get married, and you fall in love, and you find yourself in a place where you would do absolutely anything for this other person, and guess what, you probably will, including off a bridge for them. you know um, just understand that just understand that when it comes to being in love, there's a difference between love and lust. Lust is a sinful it's a sinful thing, to be honest. It's one of the seven deadly sins, is lust. They have they can be confusing at times, especially for somebody that doesn't really understand the difference. Yeah, there was a time where I was full of lust, and there was a period of time where that lust kind of dissipated and disappeared. And so when it did, the events that transpired after that really proved to me that, okay, this isn't just lust. No, when I found myself doing things in my marriage that I thought I would never do for anybody ever, and that says a lot, because to be honest, there's only one person. Back then there was only one person in this entire universe that I would do. There aren't many things that I wouldn't do for, and that was my mother. Um, one of the things I ended up doing was I sacrificed spending time with my mother to spend time with this the girl that I fell in love with, who I eventually ended up marrying. And so, you know, it was that was one of the most profound things that I realized when it came to my relationship. And so, one of the things that I find really important is, when you establish a relationship, there are so many things that you should not do. And one of the things is, you should not establish that relationship based off of lies. Because when you establish that relationship on lies, it's not a very good foundation, for the simple fact that lies are fickle. Okay? Lies can be figured out. Lies can be realized, and it's not for the simple fact that you can get caught for lying. It's for the simple fact that lying does not provide any stability whatsoever. And guess who did that? Yeah, I did. Granted, a lot of them were. I mean, I don't. I'm not gonna try and minimize the situation, but a lot of the lies that I used were lies to impress her. Yeah, I was one of those idiots. hmm And it got to the point where I couldn't even keep up with him anymore. And eventually, later on, it just got to the point where I had to laugh at myself, because I was just like, God, I was stupid. And that was but I was young, I was dumb, and I was stupid. So, and I was in love. Let's not forget about that. Love can make you do stupid things. That's extremely important to understand. So, it's very like I said, it's a very powerful thing. Love will have you doing things that you never thought you would do in 1,000 years. Okay, so understand that when it comes to relationships, it's important to also understand that relationships like love and marriage require effort. They also require sacrifice. When you set this when you set the foundation for a relationship with somebody, you want to set it on its best possible standard. Okay. One of the mistakes I made was we moved in before we got married, and yes, we had sex before we got married. But like I said, I made a lot of mistakes, guys. I wasn't saved back then. I'm just gonna put it out there. I lost my virginity when I was 20, and she took it. So understand that when it comes to certain things like sex, and when it comes to certain things like what you're supposed to do. I wish I would have known then what I know now about marriage and relationships and love, because if I had known then, I might have made a smarter decision back then. But the past is in the past. I can't really do anything about it anymore. um, there's what I can say is that if I can spare you the time and the effort of wasting your time on a relationship that is not a godly relationship, trust me, don't do it. Okay? Seek God in everything that you do. Okay? You're not going to regret it. Having God in your life is never going to be a bad decision, especially when it comes to being in a relationship with somebody else. God is only going to make that better. Okay? Seriously. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it in the long run, because I'm a firm believer in the fact that one of the reasons why people are why the divorce rate is so high in this country is because people just don't understand that the concept of marriage and the concept of relationships and the concept of love are very spiritual things, and they try to do these things without God, and yeah, they're destined to fail. Okay? They're destined to fail. Maybe you don't get divorced, but maybe you lose your spouse, and or maybe you end up losing your children, and then you get divorced because you lost your children, and so on and so forth. Seen it all, guys. It's I've been a witness to so many different relationships. I've been in a relationship that's ended now for the simple fact that I didn't know then what I know now. Okay, it's just that simple. It's amazing what I've learned over the years about what it means to be in love, and what it means to be married, and what it means to be in a relationship with somebody else. I'm no saint when I say that I am a much better person for having gone through it. And I thank God for giving me the knowledge and the insight for that. I wish that do I wish that I had known what I know now back then? Yeah, I do. My marriage might not have ended if I did. So, guys, another thing for you is that there are some important things for you to understand when it comes to being in a relationship and getting married, and so on and so forth. And what I want you to understand is that there are certain relationships, whether you realize it or not, are going to be toxic because of the cultural upbringing that some people have. Listen, it's a barrier in a lot of relationships. Okay, there is a cultural significance, um, to when it comes to relationships and how relationships are supposed to work. Okay, I've talked to many people over the years, in which they have certain cultural beliefs, and these cultural beliefs kind of leak, or if not leak, they kind of take control over the concept of marriage. And what I want to tell you, that is, if it's not God, if it's not centered around God, then guess what? You're not doing it right. I'm just going to be blunt. If your cultural beliefs are not centered around God, then it doesn't matter what they are. Eventually, that relationship is it's only going to go downhill. Okay, you know. So whether it doesn't matter what you are, it doesn't matter where you come from. Marriage and relationships and love are they they are they are one thing. Okay, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you practice, or your ideas on this or that. If it's not centered around God, then guess what? It's destined to fail. It's just that simple. All right. So husbands, love your wives and never treat them harshly. A lot of you guys out there, you treat your women, like you treat a bag of candy. All right. I mean, yeah, it may be cute, and you might do it in a way that seems harmless, but guess what? It's not. If you think that your spouse isn't thinking, okay, why is he talking to me like this? If he loves me, then he shouldn't be talking to me like this. But they're never going to say anything. A lot of times, they're never going to say anything about it, because they don't want to upset you, because they love you so much. So they let you do it. They let you get away with it, and then it comes to the point where they become desensitized to it. And trust me, you might think that that's okay, but inside her, or inside your other partner, that's destroying them inside. One of the mistakes I made, I am one of those individuals that had an interracial marriage. Okay. It was it was complicated. Our relationship was complicated in the sense that when it came to my marriage, um, as a white person, there were certain things that I could not be that I couldn't understand from my own point of view, because from her point of view, it was based, some of the things that she had gone through when she was a child were based off of the color of her skin. And there were certain things that I understood, and then there were other things that I didn't understand. Never mind the fact that I'm by no means do I hate any race of people or any culture of people, but it got complicated in the sense that certain views that she had were based off of her nationality. And so, there was nothing I could really say or do. But even at the same time, it almost became impossible. It almost became impossible for me to even have a point of view, because I was not her same race. One of the things that she wasn't very good at was allowing me the opportunity to support it support her viewpoints in a way that allowed me to understand what exactly it was she was feeling. Because one of the things that she was passionate about was Black Lives Matter. All right. And I thought, yeah, okay. I mean, I get it. I understand. She's a young African American woman. Sure, you want to support Black Lives Matter. Cool, I'm good with that. You know, I even went to some of the rallies. I was, yeah, I might not have been African American, but even at the same time, it was an opportunity for me to show my support for something that she felt was really important, and so I was happy to do it. And that was I was okay with that. But it got to the point where later on, her position on Black Lives Matter got to a very dangerous standpoint in which we had a conversation about it, and she had communicated to me and her sister, my sister-in-law, actually supported it. Was the fact that uh, they were of the position that African Americans were in fact the superior race, and that I could not get behind because regardless of my ancestry, regardless of the fact that yes, I am white, and yes, have African Americans been terrorized at the expense of people with my same skin color? Yes, but it wasn't me. I had nothing. What she couldn't understand was that no matter how much I supported everything, no matter how much I supported her stand on it, I could not in good faith get behind that particular viewpoint that African Americans are the superior race. Wars have been started over that. I mean, has everybody forgotten the Civil War? White people thought that they were the superior race, and so that's it was a chain reaction, and now and later on it got to the point where they because of the things that their ancestors experienced, they decided that the African Americans were the superior race, and that was something that I could not get behind for the simple fact that that kind of thinking is, well, it's wrong. There is no such thing as a superior race, at least not in my book, and certainly not according to the Bible. Um, Also, there is, not only is it wrong, it's dangerous to think that way because, like I said, wars have been started over that very concept. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight in a war for a position that I don't believe in. You know, it's thinking like that turns reasonable people into tyrants. Okay. We cannot, I mean, people, we can't forget about Hitler. All right. Seriously. You know, these, that kind of thinking is dangerous in that sense. And so, understand that even with the cultural differences, no matter what your culture might be, or no matter what culture you claim, understand that without God, it doesn't matter what you claim or what you identify as, or so on and so forth. Um, Without God, it's not going to work. Okay, your relationship and your marriage are doomed to fail without God, and I can't stress that importance enough. Um, it's There are so many things that ruin relationships nowadays, and the simple fact of the matter is it's so easy to overcome that. If you bring God into your relationship, it's gonna turn out so much better. You'll find that there are things that you enjoy doing that you didn't even know about before. Okay. When you establish your relationship on that foundation, it's built to last. Okay. um, I want to talk to you about what it mean about love and marriage and how you can portray that to your children. Now, I myself, I don't have any children, okay, but I have a little bit of experience with this because I grew up in the foster care system. All right, I was a kid myself, and I unfortunately I was taken away from my mom when I was very little. Both me and my biological sister were. And over the years, I have one of the things that became certain was that no matter where I went, there was a stigma when it came to an individual living in a home that was not his own. Okay, and parents, this is for you. All right, understand that your kids, no matter how young they are not as dumb as you think they are. All right. It's quite the children are some of the most extraordinary beings and some of the most intelligent beings in this universe. After all, we are the next generation. We are going to take over for you when you die, so on and so forth. You know, whether you believe the world's going to turn out for the better or not, that doesn't really matter. Um, just understand that they're not as dumb as you might think they are. They pick up on things, okay? Children are notorious for exceeding intellectual standards. Um, so when you communicate in a way that, that almost seems sarcastic or facetious, or you're trying to hide something, parents, I just want you to know you're probably going to have to be a little smarter about it because I'm pretty sure they figured it out. And whether or not they make you aware of that knowledge is neither here nor there, but I guarantee you that if you're a kid, the only thing you're thinking of is, okay, what can I do with this? Yeah. I used to be one, so I know just about I know quite a few tricks in the book, and one of the things that I experienced in foster care was the never-ending feeling that I was not wanted, and that became pretty universal. Okay, never mind the fact that my time in foster care had gotten had gotten extremely complicated, and not so complicated in a sense that when it happened, it became abundantly clear to me that no matter where I went, at least after the first foster home, life was about to get real complicated. All right. Um, being taken away from the only thing you've ever known after, after so many years, it has a way of making you think things. And unfortunately, one of the things that being in foster care and knowing that generally I was not wanted. Now, not all foster families made me feel that way, but even at the same time, the majority of them did. And that pretty much drilled into me, okay, it doesn't matter where I go, I'm the only person that's looking out for me. You know, and did I have a whole team of individuals that were in charge of making sure that I was safe and making sure that I was getting everything that I needed? Yes, I did. But there's also complications with that. These people, that's what they do for a living. Okay. These people, their care ends at the resources that they have to offer. If they don't have any resources to offer, guess what? They don't really care. Um, Now there are a few exceptions to that, to that general idea, and I'm happy to say that one of those happens to be my church mother. She was actually a staff at the York County Youth Development Center. She still is. She was one of very few people that that I actually felt loved around. Okay. And yes, I have been to the York County Youth Development Center more than a couple of times. I'm not going to tell you how many times, but trust me, it's quite a few. And every time I went, it was always her that that made me feel better. She was always my person. And so obviously over the years we stayed in contact and so on and so forth. And I got to the point where now she's mom to me, at least. Now we go to the same church together, her and her husband. They're mom and dad. They're mom and dad to me. And so she had been trying to get me on the whole God thing for a long time. And it took quite a bit, but she got the message across, and well, here I am. Um, but understand that you know there is light at the end of that tunnel. No matter what kind of a situation, no matter what kind of relationship you're in, you can always turn it. You can always turn it around. Um, you can always turn it around with God on your side. Okay, guys. Um, you can. There are so many things that you can do that will make your relationship better if you have God. Okay? You know, I can't stress that enough. Um, Another thing that parents should know is that um, when it comes to disagreements on how to raise your children, parents obviously have some parents are going to have different viewpoints on certain things. One of the biggest things that I see that destroy relationships is how one parent decides to discipline the child as opposed to the other parent. And guys, trust me when I tell you that there are certain things that will destroy a relationship. And trust me, if you guys can't come to an understanding, then I hate to be the one to say it, but you shouldn't be parents. If you can't come to an understanding, to a mutual understanding on how to raise your children, then guess what? You probably shouldn't be parents. Um, I'm just going to put it simple. I unfortunately was the effect of I was the effect of what some parents disagreed on. I was the subject. I was the dummy. I was the one that they practiced on. You know, Unfortunately, and that took a toll. It did. It took a toll. Unfortunately, it led me to believe that, okay, if they're doing this to me, then obviously, when it comes to how I react to certain situations, I'm going to do the same thing. And unfortunately, over the years, it got to the point where violence became my normal reaction. Okay. Um, violence was my get out. It was my reaction. It was my solution. Okay, you don't want me to do this and you don't want me to do that, or So this is what you do to me to prove to me that you don't want me to do this. Okay, well then obviously I need to command the same concept. That's essentially what they drilled into me when they did that. And unfortunately, that cost me a lot. That cost me a lot of opportunities to be happy, because I didn't, it got to the point where that was my only response to things. I hate to be, I was that kid that, yeah, okay, you made me angry. It was a problem, because it got to the point where, I was in this foster home in Hanover. It was my third foster home. And, I got mad one night, and I chased around one of my foster brothers with a butcher knife around the house for 10 minutes. I was bigger than him. I was faster than him, and it was all because he said something really smart to me. Yeah, I was that kid. I can't really, that was a product of, some of the things that were drilled into my head at the expense of other foster parents. And so I used it. And I quickly realized that if I don't get this under control, I'm gonna end up in prison, or worse, dead. Your actions have dire ramifications. Just understand that what you do, your kids learn. Understand that when you discipline with violence, they're going to become violent. And guess what? It's those violent kids that end up walking into a school with a gun that you thought was safe. Guess what? It wasn't. And they done killed 7 other kids. Yeah, they have ramifications, guys. Parents, understand how important it is to raise your kids the way God tells you to. All right? God is necessary for a proper upbringing. There's just no way around it. God is love. Okay? Love your children. Take care of your children. Discipline your children the right way. They have your actions have consequences, and your actions become their learned behaviors. So what you do is eventually what they're going to do later on. Just understand that. Well, I appreciate you guys for watching my video. That's all I have for now. I thank you for watching my video. If you guys have watched my videos before, please do consider subscribing and liking my videos. Also, if you're not already, go ahead and check out my Patreon account if you're interested in being a patron of Ministry of God and Guns. I would love nothing more than to be able to collaborate with you and to hear what you have to say about some of the things that you'd like to see on here. I also would like to inform you that there are many benefits and perks to each tier of membership on my Patreon account. There's a link to my Patreon account in all of my videos descriptions. So if you are interested, go ahead, check it out. You can choose from 3. There are 3 different tiers of membership. So yeah. All right, guys. God loves you. I love you. Adios.